watching New Vision TV News with me, Ruth, in a studio broadcast from the New Vision newsroom. We'll take a look at the news around Uganda, around East Africa, around the world. And later in this bulletin, we shall take a look at our Daily Pearl of Africa series and also a special report. Before we get into the news around Uganda, I have to tell you the Saturday Vision is out. Expect government rolling out pay to all the elderly in all the districts, and also State Minister of Finance for Planning David Bahati has survived assassins. MPs move to trim Governor Bank of Uganda powers, and more details on Lubowa Hospital project. If you cannot access the hard copy of the Saturday Vision, the link is on your screen. All you have to do is to subscribe to our e-paper. We now move on to news around Uganda, and our reports from Angola say Uganda's President Yoweri Museveni and Rwandan President Paul Kagame met this morning. New Vision TV has established that Angola's President João Lourenço invited the two East African leaders and the Democratic Republic of Congo President Felix Tshisekedi for a one-day quadripartite summit. Information about the agenda of the meeting was not readily available, but sources say security in the region was top on the agenda. This is the first time President Museveni and his counterpart Kagame are in the same room since April, when they both attended the swearing ceremony of South African President Cyril Ramaphosa. During the event, they sat next to each other and were seen talking. This was, however, different from the reality of Rwanda closing her border from Uganda. Rwanda has also barred her citizens from traveling to Uganda and blocked entry of Ugandan products and trucks into Rwanda. In Adjumani district, at least 1,000 people have been issued with certificates of customary land ownership. The certificates were issued by the Ministry of Lands. The beneficiaries, who included first the Deputy Prime Minister, General Moses Ali, received their certificate on Thursday during celebrations to mark the World Population Day at Paridi Stadium in Adjumani district. The Vice President, Edward Sekandi, who was representing President Museveni at the event, handed over the title to some of the beneficiaries who were present. Customary land is owned by indigenous communities and administered in accordance with other customs with the Land Act 1998, listing individual, family and common ownership as the types of customary land ownership. News from the capital, Kampala. The Uganda Chief Magistrates Court will on Monday, July 15th, rule on whether or not to direct former Makerere University researcher Dr. Stella Nyanzi to close her case for failure to produce witnesses. On Thursday, for the fourth time, none of the 19 witnesses in the cyber harassment and offensive communication case against Nyanzi appeared in the court, prompting the trial magistrate Gladys Kamasanyu to seek indulgence from her lawyers Isaac Semakade and Derek Bazekuketa. In reply, Bazekuketa requested for a month adjournment on grounds that they needed time to look for voluntary witnesses as allegedly guided by court. Bazekuketa informed court that they intend to make adverts in the newspapers with wide circulation calling for people willing to defend Nyanzi, since the court had failed to compel the summoned witnesses to testify. On Monday, Barnabas Mustafa Mugisa, a private certified hacking forensic investigator, appeared in court but declined to testify in the matter, saying he does not understand the case. Nyanzi, who has been on remand since November last year, was last month ordered to defend herself against the allegations. The mother of three instead opted to remain silent and summoned witnesses to defend her. Coming in from Nebe district, the Electoral Commission has announced NRM's Emmanuel Orombi as the winner of the Nebe LC5 by-election. Orombi's resounding victory was represented by 22,280 votes, while his challengers, Independent George Othumba and FDC's Vicky Onyai, got 18,323 and 4,022 respectively. As many as 1,911 votes were declared invalid. A total of 44,652 votes were cast in the poll. Orombi was declared a winner at about 5:30 a.m. amidst pomp and ululation from party supporters by the returning officer Michael Arinaitwe. Aisha Lubega, the deputy chairperson of the Electoral Commission, thanked the candidates for being peaceful during the election period, saying the exercise was free and fair. Independent candidate George Othombi is contesting the results, citing bribery. Moving on to Jinja District, President Museveni has commissioned a 11.6 billion shilling road project in Jinja municipality and urged residents to maintain its designs to avoid floods as it is in Kampala. This was after the president noticed that some dwellers were stepping in the grass, flowers and trees that had been planted in the central island to add beauty to the road. The road, funded by the World Bank through the government Infrastructure Development Project of the Uganda, support to municipal infrastructure development under the supervision of the Ministry of Lands. Coming in from Kayunga District, a section of sub-county chiefs in Buganda Kingdom have attacked Buganda Land Board officials, accusing them of carrying out land transactions without involving them. This was during a meeting with the Kingdom's Katikilo Charles Peter Maiga at Muganziraza in Katwe, Kampala. The sub-county chiefs, locally referred to as Abami Bamagombolola, just like the Buganda Land Board, appointed by Kabaka Ronald Muwenda Mtebi. Buganda Land Board is an entity that was set up to manage land and property owned by both the Kabaka and the Kingdom. Maiga, in his response, urged the chiefs to calm down and resolve their internal conflicts internally so that they do not look like children of the same family fighting each other. Closing off the news around Uganda is a story from Kampala district. Fear and tension looms in the villages of Mwizi sub-county after assailants killed 4 people in less than 3 months. Godfrey Sanda, the Mwizi sub-county chairperson, says on the night of 9th July, Bernard Tumwehe, 17 years, was beheaded at around 7:45 p.m. on his way from the nearby trading center in Chatoko village, and his body was dumped on the roadside. Sandy says Tumwehe is the 4th person to be killed in such a manner. Recently, a 70-year-old man from Ruhira was also hit with a hammer on the head. 2 people were murdered in the same manner in Kayonza village and Ramiyongo village. This has raised fear among the locals, who say that their assailants are fulfilling their move. They siphon blood from the deceased before they take off. Coloring a course, the RIPC for Riza region has called upon residents to remain calm as police hunt for their silence. We now move on to stories making news around the East African region. Starting off is a story from Tanzania, where the number of endangered rhinos in Tanzania has gone up following a government crackdown on poaching. 4 years ago, the country had just 15 rhinos, but a statement said there are now 167. The office of the Tanzanian president also said elephant population has risen by nearly half in 5 years as the result of tackling illegal ivory hunters. Story from South Sudan. South Sudan is investigating reports that 9 of its citizens died in Libya during last week's airstrike in the detention center in the capital, an official said. The Foreign Affairs Ministry spokesperson Wawiyen Makol said its embassy in Egypt is engaging Libyan authorities to establish facts about the air raid that took place in Tajora Detention Center in Tripoli and casualties. The detention center was holding people from Sudan and several parts of Africa desperate trekking to Europe for a better life across the Mediterranean Sea. News from Kenya. American singer, songwriter and actress Beyonce Knowles has released a song in Kiswahili to the excitement of Kenyans. The song Beyonce Spirit, released yesterday, will be a soundtrack of Disney's new version of The Lion King. Within a few hours of the release, Beyonce had 2,500,000 likes on her Instagram account. Directed by John Farwell, the latest The Lion King will be released next Friday, July 19th, 25 years after the cartoon original, which was one of the biggest animated films at the time. Closing off the news around East Africa is a story from Rwanda. A trend of Rwandan Christians converting to Islam is unfolding in Rwanda. The BBC confirmed today and reported a rise in the Islam in the landlocked country that suffered a genocide 25 years ago. According to the BBC report, the trend could be the impact of the 1994 genocide, in which more than 800,000 Tutsis were killed by Hutu extremists in 100 days. The report said Muslims shielded, saved and harbored Tutsis as they were chased down the Hutu in 1994. It also notes that where there was once only a handful of believers, it is estimated that the Rwandan population is 10% Muslim. We now move on to news around the world. We start from Sudan. Sudan's ruling military council foiled a coup attempt a top general announced on state television Thursday, saying that 12 officers and 4 soldiers had been arrested. The development came after the ruling military and civilian protesters agreed to end a political impasse after the army in April ousted longtime ruler Omar al-Bashir on the back of a popular uprising. Omar said of the 12 officers arrested, 5 of them were retired and that security forces were looking for the mastermind of the attempted coup. This is the 3rd attempted coup since the overthrow of al-Bashir in April. In Libya, Libya's internationally recognized government has demanded urgent answers after Paris conceded French missiles were found at a base used by strongman Khalifa Haftar, whose forces are fighting to take over the capital, Tripoli. Foreign Minister Mohamed Tafa Siala has asked French counterpart Jean-Yves Le Drian to urgently explain how the missiles reached Haftar's forces, when they were delivered and how, according to a ministry statement. Haftar in April ordered his self-styled Libyan National Army on an offensive to take the Libyan capital from the UN-recognized government of national accord. Moving on to the U.S., R. Kelly has been arrested on child pornography and other charges, the New York Times reported in the latest criminal investigations into the R&B superstar, dogged by allegations of sexual misconduct. The 52-year-old, whose real name is Robert Kelly, was taken into custody by federal agents in Chicago late Thursday, the newspaper said. The music star faces 13 counts, which include enticement of a minor and obstruction of justice charges. Kelly has a decades-long history of abuse allegations, especially of underage girls, and was acquitted in the child porn trial over a decade ago. In 1994, he wed his protégée, Aaliyah, the late R&B star, who was 15 years at the time. Closing off the news around the world is a story from Afghanistan. At least 5 people were killed and many more wounded today when a suicide bomber attacked a wedding ceremony in eastern Afghanistan, an official told AFP. The Taliban, who had pledged to try to reduce civilian casualties, denied responsibility of the blast in Nangarhar province. The area close to the Pakistan border is home to other insurgent organizations, including the Islamic State group, which have carried out previous attacks. That is it for the news around the world. We now take a short break, but when we come back, we take a look at the news in business.